Hello, everyone, and welcome to Abnormal Investigations. I hope everybody's doing well tonight. We are doing a later show tonight for you guys. We have a pretty interesting subject we're going to talk about tonight. I think you're going to really enjoy it. It is one that I thought was pretty interesting for several factors. But first of all, one of the things I want to get out to you guys is we have a new channel now. We're over on Rumble, where we can say whatever we want to say. There's no censorship over there, and we can be completely open and transparent on that page. So we're also going to be doing Boots on the Ground over on Rumble. The moderators will share the link in here for you to find us on Rumble. But remember, whenever you go to Rumble right now, the page you want to join is the Phoenix, guys. Don't join the green one. You want to join the Phoenix with the wolf and the white background. There is two that say Abnormal Investigations, but there's only one that is truly us and the one we're using. It does have videos uploaded on it, and it's growing pretty fast, so we're very thankful for that. But we would love to see you guys over there. Thank you for the support on Wide Open Adventures. Almost 3,000 subscribers on Wide Open Adventures. It is growing so fast. A lot of you guys are loving it. I got some more fishing content going to be coming out to y'all really, really soon. Working on a video tomorrow, guys. So that's going to be really, really cool. The Rumble link, Lisa, can you put it up before I bring you on? And does any of our other moderators have that link to where they can share it? And we will get that in the chat for you guys right now. Rumble. Like what I was saying to know, what I was wanting to let y'all know is on Rumble, we will be doing live Boots on the Ground over there. So if you're not on Rumble, you could miss some Boots on the Ground that we're going to be doing. So you definitely want to be on Rumble to be able to catch some of our Boots on the Ground over there. And of course, we'll be doing our Boots on the Ground here on this channel. And it'll be Tuesday nights and then maybe Thursday nights. We're not sure right now, but the other nights, it could be Friday, could be Saturday, could be whenever. But Tuesday nights, guys, is when you can look for us for Boots on the Ground. Let me go ahead and let's bring Lisa on here. Let's throw her right in the middle. Uh-oh, my mouse is going crazy. Hold on. Let's throw her right in the middle. Oh, that's not right. That's wrong. Is that better? Oh, we lost her. As soon as I brought her on, I lost her. Is she hiding from me? I think she may be hiding from me. She'll be back. Guys, I want to offer some prayers for everybody that is facing these terrible tornadoes that's going on right now. Prayers for the safety of everybody that's having to go through them tonight and everybody that's been through them. They are really, really bad. If y'all did not check out D.A. Roberts' show tonight, y'all missed out. We were over there in full support of D.A., as D.A. is a very huge supporter of us. And not only a supporter, but D.A. and Robbie are good friends of mine. We do a lot of sharing information and just really good guys, really good show. So D.A. Roberts, if you haven't checked him out, go check him out. Very good podcast. They do some boots on the ground, which is some amazing content. They've had some amazing encounters, and some of them will stand the hair up on the back of your neck, and nobody can tell them like DA can for sure. Hello, Lisa. Lisa, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Was you
Sorry, I had
running
to
from
jump
me?
off. No, I had to jump off StreamYard to go to the chat to post that link. So
Ah, so we got the Rumble link out there right now. It is in the chat.
no, I posted wide open. Um,
Okay,
darn.
everybody wants the Rumble link, and I don't think anybody else has it. I haven't seen it come up. We need to make
I
sure some
can,
other moderators get
okay,
that link. Do any of you other moderators have that link right now that you can share it into chat?
I can jump off again and go put it on there if you want.
Uh, Tina Whitting, we are working on that right now. You can actually just go Google it or www, I think, rumble.com. I don't even believe you have to have an app. You can just log on to it. I think that's how it works. You can also get the app. I'm not sure. Lisa may know more about it than I do. I'm not sure. Good to see you, Puck Wedgie.
If you have the app, then you can get notifications.
Oh, okay.
But you don't have to have the app, and it's free to join. You just go to rumble.com and search abnormal uh, underscore investigations, and it's the orange avatar, the phoenix avatar.
And all you have to do is follow us, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Click on the follow.
Believe
All
so.
right. I'm trying to see if anybody. I haven't seen the link come up, so I'm guessing none of the other moderators have the link. Hello, Herbert. Hello, Blue Biddy. Hello, Michelle. Good to see you. Puck Wedgie. Good to see you. Keith Blunt. Good to see you. We got a lot of famous faces in here. There's Miss Sharon Guy. She doesn't have the link either. So after the show, we will post the link, guys, and I will pin it at the top of chat. How's that? Will that work for everybody? We will get the link in there after the show, and we will pin it at the top, and we'll remind everybody at the end of the show.
Right.
Sound cool?
It's not the one with the green avatar. It's the orange one.
Yeah, the green one is not the right one. Green is bad, guys. It's the devil's lettuce. You want to go to the other one. We're the other one. And we're in the process of getting the other one deleted to try to make it a little easier for you guys.
Right.
Man, that wild turkey hits the spot. So it'll make you gobble. So what do we got going on tonight, Lisa? What do you think about this case? Is there anything intriguing about it that caught your attention, or anything that you found pretty interesting before we dive completely into it? Hello, Carol.
I would say just all the stories that were told.
Mm-hmm.
His story kept changing. So, and he gave some wild ones.
Pretty crazy.
Mm.
And
Yes.
we're going to take a look at some of those right tonight and break them down and see what we think.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's what we're going to do. So, is Amanda's not backstage. I don't know where Amanda's at. Amanda, I don't know where she's at. Has anybody heard from Amanda? Any of the moderators heard from Amanda? What I found interesting about this case that caught my attention, I think right off, that made me say, you know what, this one's worth looking at, is whenever I was scanning through this case, I saw what was pretty stand out to me is when it said Bigfoot was actually named a potential suspect in this case. And
Right.
you don't see that a lot in the cases. I mean, you may see rumors or, hello sunshine, good to see you. Or you may see like, people suspect that there might have been something supernatural involved. But whenever you see that the police actually named Bigfoot as a suspect, that to me gives some validity to the case. I get $5 for every time I say a word like that. So, I thought, wow, that's interesting, because there's very few cases to where the actual investigators or authorities will admit that there is something either supernatural or something that is abnormal to the case. And that causes me to look. One of the other cases that would remind me of that would be the Oklahoma Girl Scouts, right? And hey, April Robinson, could you send me an email, please? I would appreciate it. I'd like to ask you something. But I think it's there at
Isn't it
least.
true that isn't it true that there's somewhere in, I think it's Northern California, where it's actually on the books that there's a law that says you can't kill a Bigfoot. So I think if this had happened in any other state, um, they might not have listed Bigfoot as a suspect, as a potential suspect.
That's a really good question. I'm glad you brought that up. I see you're on your A game tonight. So
Oh, thanks.
that's really good, because that reminds me, because I believe in California and some other states, they do have laws to protect them even from harassing them. Now, when you come down to Oklahoma, where you have us rednecks and country boys, one of our I'm not one of our governmental officials actually put $1 million reward out for the body of one. So some states you can't harass them. In Oklahoma, you can hunt them, and we'll pay you for it. So it depends on, it depends on what state you're in. So pretty interesting, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Which
For something that's not supposed to exist,
right. Hey, T-Bone. And it's also funny that a lot of governmental pamphlets, even military pamphlets, talk about Bigfoot and what to do if you encounter him. But he doesn't exist, but we want you to know what to do in case you do encounter him, just in case. Because you never know. I mean, nothing's impossible. Anything's possible.
What they say.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that's a really good question. T-Bone, good to see you, man. So let's go ahead and get into the nit gritty in this one. So, the name of the lady we're going to be talking about tonight, and she'll also be the victim of this encounter. And when I say victim, what I am stating is there has not been, unless Lisa found something different than I did, there has not been a body, I don't believe, presented in this case. It is still listed as a missing person open case. Is that right?
Right. It remains unsolved.
Okay.
As to this day.
And we don't have a body, correct?
Correct. Not that I found.
That's what I found too. Rosie Rose, that's a good statement right there. I agree. And if I miss any of your questions, guys, in the live, because I am looking at 3 different screens, well, 4, counting my phone, put your questions at the end of the show in the comments, and I'll answer them. If you have a question for one of the co-hosts or for one of the moderators, put it in there also, and they'll find it and answer it to the best of their ability. Who's hiding from her? They're still hiding it from me. I have to use the actual link, or all I get is a green one. No white one came up at all. Yeah, we're trying to take care of that, Sunshine. We're going to try to get rid of that green one. I've been in contact with them, so hopefully they'll listen to me. They should listen to me, because I am Michael McKee. You like that, Josh? You like it? But anyways, so her name is Theresa Ann Bier. And I believe I'm pronouncing her name right. Bier is pronounced Bear in this situation, correct? Does that sound right to you?
I think so, yes.
The age at the time she went missing was 16. The location, Sierra Nevada mountains in California. The moon phase during the time that she went missing was a waxing crescent, which I call that the hunting moon phase. The outcome of the story at this point is she is still missing with an open case, and no body has been discovered or found at this point. Now, Lisa, you brought up something to me earlier I wasn't real aware of either. And you were talking about how spooky the Sierra Nevada mountains really are. So she wasn't in like a small place where she went missing, right? She was in a pretty remote, desolate, and area known for cryptids and supernatural stuff, right?
Well, I think in general, the Sierra Nevadas are known for especially Bigfoot sightings and things like that, supernatural things, and um, where they supposedly went camping was very remote in the Sierra Nevadas. It's just a vast place.
And I think where she even went missing, and we'll get into that later in the story, is it wasn't like they went down a trail. They weren't hiking. They like used a boat to get to the location. So they were in a pretty remote area, I think.
Yes, it was.
So Teresa Ann Bier disappeared June 1st, 1987, at the Bass Lake area, Sierra Nevada mountains, California. The case remains that she was never located. Now, this case was actually revised in 2023. They done a revision of the case. And on June 1st, 1987, 16-year-old Theresa Ann Bier and Russell Skip Welch, 43 years old, we're going to talk about that in a second, reportedly became separated in the Sierra Nevada mountains after they had gone to look for Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Welch was subsequently charged with abducting Teresa, but the charge was later dismissed. So, what was the relationship, Lisa, as you understand it, between Teresa and Mr. We'll call him Skip?
Well, what I found was that he was a friend of her uncle who had custody of her. I don't know if he had adopted her, but she came from a very abusive family, and she was living, her and one of her sisters were living with the great grandmother of her father. And it was soon after that, well, I guess several years after they moved there, her uncle, by the name of John Richmond, also known as Blind Johnny, I found out, um, adopted her. She moved in with his family, and Skip, we'll call him Skip, he was a friend of the uncle, her uncle.
Right. And what I found kind of weird about this too was 16-year-old girl to 43-year-old man taking a trip into the mountains without her legal guardian with her.
What I understand is that they had a plan, a secret plan, that she was going to pretend to go to school. He actually came over that day and picked her up to take her to school. That's at least what he told the uncle, that he was going to drop her off at school, but they had a plan for her to skip school and go with him to the mountains.
And see, that that even throws up red flags to me just by, I mean, so
Well,
did the uncle that had custody of her, did he know that their plan, or did she just skip school and go with this guy?
I don't think he did know the plan. Um, but this Skip, he claimed to be a Bigfoot expert, which we all know there's no expert on Bigfoot, but
Right.
this was back in the 80s. He was also someone who thought of himself as um, someone who could survive in the wild. He was a survivalist. He could spend long periods of time in those remote mountains. He laid claims to gold and copper mines um, in the area that they went to, and also north, um, just south of Yosemite, is what I found. So he liked to go to very remote places.
So he was
And
an
but I think
experienced outdoorsman.
I would say so. But his draw, I think, with her was she was 16 years old, and here's this man who says, "I can show you Bigfoot. I've seen him.
Hmm.
I've had, you know, um, experiences, you know." And so I think that was the draw, but also, you know, there was a lot of drug use um, with the uncle and the friend, and so that might have been something that they were trying, or that he was trying to, lure her with or get her into. Or I think that this has a lot to do with her disappearance as well.
So he kind of used that to entice her to go to the woods with him, probably.
I think
As you know,
so.
you're gonna go see a Bigfoot. It's gonna be amazing, you know. And I need to
Mm-hmm.
say something for chat real quick. Blue Biddy, your link does work. I just checked it, and the link that Blue Biddy put out does work. I pinned it. It said it pinned, so hopefully it is pinned in chat. I can't tell right now if it is or not, but it did say that it did pin. So hopefully it did pin. And Gary, yeah, her link is working. I just checked it myself. It took me directly to the right page. So Blue Biddy's link is correct, and it should be pinned at the top of chat. So you have a 16-year-old girl. She's talking to a guy that is a survivalist, probably a allegedly a drug user, and he's trying to entice her to go on this trip with him because they're going to go look at Bigfoot. Um,
Right. Well, he had a history of taking young girls up to the mountains to do just the same thing.
oh, so this
So,
wasn't this isn't a new thing that he was doing.
no,
Okay, so yeah, that's important because what you're doing is you've established a pattern now. So this guy had a
right.
pattern of the same
Yeah.
behavior.
Young
So
girls,
young
um,
girls
I would say 16 to 18-ish, somewhere in there. Hmm.
that are easily manipulated.
Right. Hmm.
You know, hey, let's go look at Bigfoot. And probably was offering them drugs, I would suspect, or
That's what I'm thinking as well. Hmm.
and you put all this into their mind, and you give them enough drugs, and people start hallucinating and seeing things, and before you know it, yeah, you see Bigfoot and other things. So
Yeah.
on June, yeah, I'm
No,
being
I
we're
have. I read some testimonies from statements from uh, other girls that went up there with him and
uh
stated that they did do drugs and that they did see what they saw. And I'll let you know what they saw in a little bit.
okay. So I'm close, huh?
Hmm.
I didn't get to read the testimonies. Okay, so on June 1st, 1987, 16-year-old Teresa Ann Bier and Russell Skip Welch, 43, reportedly became separated in the Sierra Nevada mountains after they had gone to look for Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Welch was not charged. And we're going to talk about that later too, because that really bothers me. I mean, and I understand, and Herbert, I know, will understand it probably, but even better than me being a judge, that, you to charge somebody, of course, you have to beyond reasonable doubt. You can't just charge somebody because you think so. If that were the case, everybody would be saying that everybody done something. Now, people do that. There's a lot of liars, but Welch went camping with Teresa near Shut Eye Peak. I think that's another interesting thing, since you said his nickname was Blind somebody. One of the
Oh, the
guys,
uncle, Blind Johnny.
Blind Johnny, and Shut Eye Peak, about
Yeah.
25 miles northeast of Bass Lake in California, and was questioned by deputies when he returned without her. She was last seen at or around 7:20 p.m. Welch explained that Bigfoot had abducted her, but foul play was first suspected. Searches throughout that region produced no sign of Bier. She has never been seen again, nor has any of the evidence turned up. I think it's interesting that of course they're going to suspect foul play because, number one, uh, and Herbert says the police could still charge him. I think it's interesting, that they even contemplated Bigfoot, but I do understand why they suspected, him, because as far as law enforcement and all them, they're, Bigfoot's not supposed to exist, so they're going to look at the human aspect, and he's automatically going to be a witness, right? So,
Hmm.
or not a witness, a
Well,
suspect.
well, he was the
Um,
last one to see her, so
and I think it's also interesting that she went missing. I smell cigarette smoke in this house so strong right now. But I think it's interesting that she went missing without anything, no evidence, no nothing. But
yeah,
of
she pretty
course,
much disappeared.
right, and he
They
is
never
saying it.
found. Hmm.
Bigfoot took her, right?
Um, he had several stories,
Okay.
starting with he dropped her off at school, and she took off with a blonde girl. That was his first story, but he kept changing the stories. Um, he then told the police that she just simply walked away from the campsite. That was the next story, I think. Um, and then his next story was that she left with Bigfoot and that she'd be better off with Bigfoot because they were intelligent beings and she was from a troubled home. Yes. Um, he also said that the Bigfoot that he knew and um, communicated with up there, they I wrote down exactly what it said. They were guarding a race of super intelligent beings, and that these beings were of normal human height. And he said that one of them was a female that took a liking to Teresa, that even looked a lot like Teresa, and that she decided to stay with this race of intelligent beings up in the mountains, and that he called to her, but she kept walking into the woods with this being.
So he allegedly had been communicating with these creatures, and this one happened to look like her also.
That's what he said. Hmm.
I bet the investigators had a field day on this one. Uh,
Hmm.
mhm.
And
Uh,
then it changed, I think, two more times from that. Let's
so you
see.
want to, yeah, you can go ahead with those if you want to.
Okay. Okay. And then he changed his story to say that um, he had been attacked by a devil creature as he was driving down the mountain to escape. This is after Teresa had left with the humanoid female. Um, he said that the entity was in his car, that he decided he was going to fight this entity. And back then, uh, some guys had big speakers in cabinets, right, sitting in their back seats. Okay,
Mhm.
he claimed that as he had turned around to fight this demon in his back seat, that the scratches and scrapes on his hands, his injuries, were from fighting the entity, and that his hands kept hitting the speaker cabinet. Okay. And then, let's see. Oh, yes. And then the next day he claimed he went back up to where they were camping. He saw Teresa. That's when he called to her, and she just, she kept walking. So his story changed several times, but it
So,
started with, he said he dropped her at school, and she took off with a blonde girl. So he had crazy stories. He kept changing his story.
we also know that there was alleged drug use, right?
Yes, he was known to the police um, for that.
And a lot of people were asking in this case, was this a simple case of kidnapping or murder by a man high on meth? Or was it, as Skip claimed, a Bigfoot abduction in the Sierra? Did Teresa just run off into the woods to escape? And did she become lost? And I think what people were insinuating in this and a lot of the questions around this story were, if she wasn't abducted by Bigfoot, whenever they got to this location, did Skip attempt to do something that caused her to flee into the woods to try to get away from him? And then did she become lost? I think was one of the things that, people were asking. And I
Hmm.
know that a lot of the speculation around it also was, did Skip unalive her himself? And a little bit what I read, and of course there's no proof of this because there's not a pattern, because you don't have the bodies, so you don't have the forensic on it. But a lot of this of what I read is, there was questions, we'll put it that way. It was questioned by people, and some people seem to believe that Skip could have possibly had been a serial killer in the area. um,
Hmm.
Again, you can't really say that with, and be complete with it, because there's no bodies, so you can't look at forensic evidence and show that he's the actual one that done it. um, uh, Now, Skip in the
But
beginning. Uh-huh.
there were murders in the area that the media dubbed the Speed Freak murders, and it was of several um, late teen girls that went missing in the Fresno area, which is where Teresa was from,
Uh-huh.
Compton, Fresno area, um, and they were convicted. Um, I think they were convicted on 4 counts and then suspected of, I believe it was something like 68 more.
Right.
So that did cross the investigators' minds that maybe Teresa got mixed up with that. Um,
Or maybe
and it
Skip
was
was
this
mixed up with that.
that yeah, exactly. And um, it had to do with satanic rituals and things like that,
Well,
torture and
when the
that.
cult's involved, yeah, that, and maybe the cult and narcotics go hand in hand, allegedly.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So Herbert's gonna like this part. So Skip was charged, Herbert, with Teresa's abduction, but the case against him was dismissed due to lack of evidence in October of '87. He was also offered a deal for an incredibly light sentence if he were to confess and show the police where her body was. But he also refused to that, sticking to his Bigfoot story. So even though they made what sounds like a plea deal to him with a very light sentence in order to get the body to have some closure and to find out exactly what happened, he refused and was confident that she had left in his mind with Bigfoot or Sasquatch, and that they wasn't going to find her, because if they would have found her without him taking the plea, then his sentence would have been a lot stiffer. He would have been possibly looking at life in prison or the death penalty. So for him being given such a light, plea bargain, they said it was a very light one too, like no time
Right.
served. He still said, no, Bigfoot took her. That's what I saw, and that's what happened.
I
Uh,
think I think what he was facing was 4 years, which is pretty light sentence, if you ask
yeah,
me, for
probably
the
do what
disappearance of a girl. They
normally
offered
when.
him a plea
Uh-huh.
and 1 year of a sentence of 1 year. He turned it down,
Wow.
and so that double jeopardy would not um, attach. They dropped all charges, so that hoping, I guess, later on, if they could prove murder, then they could charge him with that.
Right. And another thing I was thinking, to be fair to the case, to look at this as an open mind as an investigator, I think to be fair, it does, in a sense, kind of tilt this case toward, could a Sasquatch have took her? And the reason I say that is because if there is the possibility, and we know that search and rescue and police and authorities are very good at finding bodies, and if even there was a chance that they was going to find her and he was going to look at life in prison or the death penalty, he still was confident enough either that her body would never be found, or that he really believes in his mind that Bigfoot took her. Because when you're offered a
Hmm.
plea of a year, most normally, if you're offered a plea of a year, you're not going to serve that year behind bars. It's probably going to be probation. Uh, so, in argument's sake of it being a Sasquatch, I think that at least in his mind, I think he was thinking one of two things. Either they're not going to find her body, or he believes that Bigfoot actually took her. And that could,
Well,
his belief could also come from hallucination from drugs. I mean, because he, in his mind, he believes that really happened. So I don't know. What do you think?
okay. I think that we haven't talked about the campsite that he led the police to,
Uh-huh.
but they say that. It looked like a setup, like a fake campsite, as if it was staged, right?
Right.
And so I think he wouldn't have gone to the trouble to do that if he really believed that Bigfoot took her. That story.
But then we have to ask ourselves, did he really stage it, or did they really camp there? And the reason I say that is because I've seen a lot of, whenever I would do investigations, like preliminary investigations, we would go into an open scene, and within that crime scene, sometimes it would allege that the victim would have a weapon that they might have tried to use on the person that was claiming self-defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there would be sometimes things that would look mysterious and look staged or possibly planted to make it seem that this person had a weapon, so this person was justified in the force that they used against this person. And later on, through forensics and testing and everything, they're able to determine, was it placed there? And I'm not going to go into how they do that because I don't want to help somebody out, but they can determine, was it placed there, not placed there. And a lot of times it would come out to it wasn't placed, but it would look so set up. It was really interesting how they can determine that. And again, I'm not going to give anybody advice on how to do that, because there is
Right.
certain ways that they can determine if something, was what do you call it?
Staged.
Yeah, that's a better word for it. So I don't know.
Well, it was interesting what they found at this campsite.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things they found were some of her belongings, her purse, and there were pictures, Polaroids, in fact, inside her purse. And one of them showed a picture of her sitting on a blanket that was at the scene where he took the investigators. Um, but the investigators took the pictures back and showed them to other detectives who knew the area like the back of their hands. And they said that the pictures, the Polaroids, showed a mountain in the background. So where Skip was claiming that they camped could not have been where this Polaroid was taken. It looked like the same kind of area, but they noticed the mountain in the background of this picture, which they said would have been 20 miles away from where Skip told them that they camped. Now, that doesn't mean that they couldn't have visited one place and took the picture with all the same, the same blankets. You travel light when you camp, right? It could
Right.
have looked the same, could have been arranged the same way. So I don't know.
And
Um,
a lot of
they
times
could have
people, when
visited
they,
both places, is what I'm saying.
right. And a lot of times when people set up camp, people will set their camp up almost the identical way every time.
Right.
People have ways that, they like to do things, that works for them.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that's just giving it an honest shake for both sides so far
Hmm. Right.
before, uh, so we also found out that, Teresa didn't have the best life growing up. And allegedly, Teresa's parents, Shirley and David Bier, did not provide a safe or loving home for Teresa and her siblings in Fresno, California. Shirley was particularly abusive toward her children. When Teresa was about 3 years old, She was severely injured and ended up in a hospital. Shirley twisted Teresa's leg around the crib slats until her leg was broken. She also beat Teresa, breaking several ribs. At this point, social services stepped in and took Teresa and her sisters away. This was also when Teresa's parents split up. Teresa was placed in foster care, and Sylvia Pierce, a friend from the church, took in Teresa and her sister Vicky. Um, after a after a few years, Teresa had been placed in care of her father David. He decided that he wanted custody as he had divorced Shirley and remarried Margie Richmond. Margie had previously been married to Shirley's half brother. Now, John Richmond and they had two daughters who lived with her and David. The father was granted custody and they moved to Southern California to work as janitors, where Margie was reportedly abused toward her daughters and Teresa. Allegedly, Margie would lock her refrigerator, sit there, eat her lunch, and not feed the kids anything. Teresa would eventually return to Fresno to her great grandmother's house. Soon after, Teresa's uncle, John, Blind Johnny, that Lisa had brought up earlier, Richmond, was granted custody, a 42-year-old man who claimed to have lost his eyesight while playing Russian roulette. Really smart people here. Although some people believed he could still see a little. His daughters lived with his ex-wife Margie and David, but he also had two sons with a prostitute. Blind Johnny also had a 17-year-old girlfriend, Tamara Newman, who lived with him. John would often make Teresa miss school to babysit his sons, and it was claimed that he and his friends often abused her. We'll put it like that. At age 16, Teresa was described as a slow learner and immature. At school, she was 5'5" in height and 110 pounds. Teresa's upper front teeth protruded, and she had a surgical scar on her lower right leg due to a childhood fracture. So let's break that down. The one thing that sticks out to me, and all of this is bad. Everything she went through right here is bad, and you have a lot of sick, twisted people in her life. Allegedly, I have to be careful how I get upset with
Right.
some of this. Allegedly, she lived a really terrible life. Um, and whenever you read this and you look at it and you see that the school had described her as a slow learner, she was immature. She had the protruded teeth, which meant she was probably made fun of, probably wasn't in the in crowd. And then you have a 43-year-old man offering to take her on this great adventure to see Sasquatch. So somebody that's probably not getting a lot of good attention, that's been abused, that's probably just looking for a friend. And she thought this was going to be an amazing adventure with probably somebody that she thought she could trust. And that, and I'm not saying Bigfoot was part of this or not part of this. I'm just trying to break down kind of her life right here at what she went through. And oh my God, I mean, you got one guy that lost his eye to Russian roulette. You have drug use. You have her being placed from home to home to home to home. DHS being involved. I mean, she went through hell, and I think
Right.
she was looking for somebody she could trust. I mean, what is your thoughts on that so far?
I agree. Even if it was from a much older person. Um, I think maybe he was charismatic as well, a survivalist and a Bigfoot expert, he claimed to be. And um, I don't
And
know.
who knows the
I
stories he
don't think
told her,
she had, right. I don't think she had many friends. Um, because from what I gathered, she didn't go to school very much. So she was made to stay home and take care of Johnny's two younger children, plus himself, plus his friends.
Herbert
She was
has a
kind of a house slave, is what they said she was made
wow.
into. And so I can't imagine she was let to, go be a girl and go, do things with her friends very often. Um, so I guess any attention she got, she jumped on, I would imagine.
And maybe
And
the
the adventure of it, the
do you think
escape of
the
it,
right
you know.
and and do you think the immaturity could come from since she had to be an adult and watch those kids so much that she didn't get to have her childhood?
I think it's very possible.
Herbert
Mhm.
has a really good statement too. He says maybe Bigfoot took her to take care of her.
Well, that was the opinion of Skip. He said that she'd be better off with Bigfoot
Really?
in the mountains. Yeah,
That's it.
because she came.
That's
He did say that
wow. That's
that she'd be
interesting.
better off with Bigfoot because she came from such an abusive home life.
Wow. That's very interesting.
And then, of course, it was the humanoid beings that were with the Bigfoot that he claimed were in the woods as well.
And then T Bone also has another good statement, but there was so many lies, right?
Oh yeah, he changed his story several times. Um, yeah, but his own daughter also told police that she was worried when okay, so the day that he's was supposed to take her to school,
Mhm.
they went to his daughter's house. And the daughter, before they went to the mountains, and the daughter told police that she was a little, I don't know, I don't know what the word is. She was kind of worried about the situation that her father was there with this young girl because he had a reputation of doing this. He would have friends that were much younger that he would take up to the mountains. They would have bad experiences because of what they would see when they would be doing whatever drugs they were doing.
So,
But
so were these
Teresa's the only one
people?
that never came home.
So were these people actually seeing things that were going with him? Were they reporting seeing things?
Yes. Yep.
What was they
One
seeing? Did it say?
one girl uh, planned to go with Skip to the mountains, but she took two friends of hers who were both 10 years older as kind of, a little protection because she was kind of apprehensive. But they went to the mountains, they set up camp, um, they did whatever drugs they did. She said she woke up in the middle of the night screaming and that she had seen a 3 foot tall white figure with huge eyes that she said looked like the devil, and that she ran screaming and almost fell off a cliff. Um, Whatever it was scared her so bad that she went screaming, running through the through the woods, and almost fell off a cliff. And I believe Skip also claimed to have seen the same white being at another time. So they were
So
seeing things, and some of them were similar.
that's interesting. So let me throw this out there for you. You're going to a remote area. You're using drugs. People are seeing kind of the same thing. It almost sounds like a puck wedgie. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
People are seeing, these small creatures that are scaring them, right? So when we use drugs, that's a spiritual opening. So if
I
they're up
think
there
so.
using drugs or alcohol or anything that clouds the mind, right? Because even Jesus told us to be of a sober mind.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was Bigfoot and he come from the fallen angels, which I believe that the Scott Carpenter DNA results proved that they are from the fallen angels, they would have a supernatural aspect to them, the Nephilim. Would they be able to, and we know from the book of Enoch, and I don't take the full book of Enoch as truth. I believe that there is truth among stories in there, folklore. But I believe that there's enough there to say that the fallen angels corrupted the DNA of all animals, all things that were here. Do you think, take a long statement and I'll make it short. Do you think it's possible that the drug use could have opened the door to supernatural or cryptid beings that would notice that this was happening?
I think both.
Fuck what
Yeah.
you said, it wasn't
And
me.
oh,
So I think that just opens the door to a lot of that, right?
I think so.
But we also
Definitely.
have to look at it from a different standpoint. We also know that drugs cause hallucinations. Now, if they're hallucinating, from my experience, and when I've seen people pretty high or pretty messed up on narcotics, they do hallucinate, but no two people hallucinate and see the same thing. So since they
Right.
were all seeing the same thing, that kind of gives some validity to it, right? Another
The
$5.
little, yeah, the little white being with 3 foot tall, white being with large black eyes that looked like a demon. They both saw that, so I don't know.
Does that sound like a puckwudgie? I'm not real familiar with those. That's just the first thing that popped into my mind.
I'm not either, to be honest, but
I'm not sure. I
could
was
be.
looking at some of the notes here, and I found that Skip was a house painter, and
Right.
it says that he was very obsessed with Bigfoot after he had seen it. Now, this is another part of this encounter that really throws me off. So Skip was not always a Sasquatch Bigfoot believer until on one of his many adventures he had an encounter. But after he had this encounter, they said he completely changed and became obsessed with Bigfoot. That almost sounds like somebody that had a real encounter, don't it? Because they go from not believing to an encounter and then automatically just obsessed with it.
I can see that. I can see that. Yeah.
Because
I think a
something,
lot of people. I think a lot of people do become obsessed
right?
when you see something that's not supposed to exist and you saw it with your own eyes. Yeah, I can see that.
Because something
Coming.
happened that caused him to become obsessed. I think that's really interesting. So, excuse me, Skip had a pretty hard life. He was on disability. He was living from disability check to disability check. Uh, and I'm going to throw in allegedly he was addicted to meth, and his wife Shannon had died of a drug overdose. So,
Yes.
pretty tough life again. I mean, this little girl has went from almost a frying pan to the fire. On the morning of June 1st, 1987, Skip arrived at Blind Johnny's house as they knew each other, and he noticed that Teresa was getting ready for school, and he offered to drive her. This was a deception, as Teresa had already planned to spend the day in the mountains with Skip. So there's something going on here. I don't know if he was trying
Yeah, it
to
was
take her.
pre-planned.
Yeah, it's like, was he trying to take her to show her Bigfoot? What was his intentions? What was his motive, right? Uh, because, I mean, you can look at it, and this is really hurting my head. You can look at it from two different ways. If he really had a Bigfoot encounter, how many adults will make fun of you for having a Bigfoot encounter? Almost everybody. They're going to say you're crazy. But if adults don't believe you, did he find a young person that believed him? And is that why he had this bond with her? Is, hey, she
That's a
believes
good
me,
point. That's a
because
good point.
all the
Hmm.
adults would make fun of you. And him having the previous record of being a drug user and everybody in town knowing, and then he says he saw Bigfoot, nobody's going to believe him. So the only person that's going to believe him is going to be somebody like Teresa, or a younger person that would be more impressionable, less opinionated on what would be out there. And I think that we
That's
have to look at that.
that's reasonable. Yeah, I can see that.
Um, then it says later that morning, Blind Johnny received a call from Central High School wanting to know why Teresa hadn't arrived at school that day. He told them that Teresa was homesick and spent the day searching for her. Speaking to various people and her acquaintances, despite none of them knowing where she was, many of them did warn him that Skip was not a trustworthy man. That evening at 9:30 p.m., Blind Johnny reported Teresa missing to the Fresno police. Now, again, people saying that he's not a trustworthy person. Where's the proof? Where's the evidence? I mean, you can say that about anybody, but if you ain't got tangible proof, to me, and excuse my language, it don't mean shit. Because there's a lot of people around that say a lot of things about people that's not true, and they do it to damage people's credibility. They do it out of jealousy. They do it out of obsession. There's a lot of different reasons that people will try to destroy somebody. And, you know, jealousy, obsession, hate, vengeance, all those, are reasons that people will attack somebody's credibility, attack their person.
Hmm.
So, yeah, him using drugs, I can see how somebody could say he's not a trustworthy person. That's not somebody that I would have my children around. But at the same time, they're saying he's not a trustworthy person, but they're all friends with him. So there's a lot of weird things going on in this story, I think.
Yes.
Like what Herbert said,
Pretty
three guesses.
cryptic.
three guesses, he said, and the first two do not count. Right. Uh, Before they headed to the mountains, Skip and Teresa stopped at his daughter, Chandra Welch's house. Skip was having trouble with his beat up 1976 Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Uh, Skip and Teresa had searched the Sierra Nevada mountain range near the Shut-Eye Peak area. The Fresno police spoke to Skip's friends and family, including a 17-year-old Michelle Ryan. She had been enticed to the mountains by Skip during a previous summer. Now, I do find this very interesting, and it kind of goes against what I was first initially thinking. Now, Skip's daughter, Chandra, had advised against her going. She knew that her father had a habit of taking young girls to the mountains and using drugs to lure them to the mountains to do obvious things. Now, that was not proven. I want to put that out there. That was only stated. Michelle had a traumatic trip, but made it back home safely. Fortunately, she had gone with the two male friends, although she believed she had been drugged. Now, none of the girls made any kind of statements that were nefarious against him. There was no, and I think that's kind of interesting too. Police also spoke to Skip's daughter and the son. Her father and Teresa had visited Chandra on the day of her disappearance. On the same day, Terry had also been visited by Skip and a young girl, presumably Teresa, but Skip and Teresa could not be located. June 5th, 1987, a police officer spotted Skip's brown 1976 Chevrolet Monte Carlo by a trailer park near North Fork, a town in the foothills of the mountain. It would later be explained that Skip had come down the mountain to visit a friend, Dorothy Davis. He was distraught and told her about a young girl who had been taken by a satanic group and being kept in the Sierras. Davis said he was high and assumed that he was delusional. So I want to let you start on that one.
Well, I read that that it was the day that she went supposedly missing, that he came down the mountain to his friend Dorothy's, and she said that his car was really banged up, dented, like he was driving erratically. But I think his explanation was that he was battling this demon in his back seat. Um,
Or was he battling Teresa that was trying to get away?
Good question.
Maybe she was fighting back.
Hmm.
And I say maybe.
He definitely had scratches and injuries to his knuckles and his hands, but that was his explanation for those
I'm not
injuries.
even gonna. Yeah, I'm not even gonna speculate on that because I could. That's really dark. That's kind of bothersome, isn't it? When you really think
Mm,
about that.
yeah.
And I think everybody's probably they know, y'all know what we're thinking. Uh, a few days after Teresa was reported missing, Blind Johnny received a threatening phone call from a young female. She told him that Skip was packing a pistol and wanted her to say to him, "If you continue to make trouble for him, you will have more trouble from him. Even your kids can get hurt." And tell the police that Skip had taken Teresa to school, dropped her off, and some unknown blonde girl had picked up Teresa.
I didn't hear about the threats. I didn't read that.
Yeah, let me read this again because I really want to get the feel of this here because it says a few days after Teresa was reported missing, Blind Johnny received a threatening phone call from a young female. She told him that Skip was packing a pistol and wanted her to say to him, "If you continue to make trouble for him, he will have more trouble from him and your kids can get hurt." So is Skip, so what did Blind
Hmm.
Johnny know that Skip didn't want him to talk about, or was he not wanting Skip to pursue looking for Teresa because was Skip getting close to finding Teresa?
Hmm. I don't know. It's interesting though.
That almost sounds like I would say that Blind Johnny didn't know nothing about it, but I think he had a pretty good idea, and I think he was getting too close to something, and he was freaking Skip out. I think Skip was getting afraid that Blind Johnny was going to find out what really happened.
Hmm. I think you're right. Hmm.
Hmm. So
He's afraid of
during the
something.
yeah, it had to be. And during questioning, Skip spoke very seriously about Bigfoot and claimed that there was a very large number of them living in the mountains in underground caves and that had communicated with him several times. When questioned about Teresa, his story changed several times, and he insisted on calling her Sam, the nickname that he had given her. Uh, at first, he claimed to have dropped her off at school, but soon admitted that the two did go to the mountains to seek out Bigfoot. Then Skip claimed that Sam, oh man, I keep thinking of Son of Sam, had run off into the woods with another young woman and later claimed she had left with other campers. There's another story. And yet another version, he said that Sam had gotten overexcited after they had seen Bigfoot a couple of times that day, leading her to running off to find the creature again. And he was unable to find her. Skip said Teresa would not return because she had been happier with the Bigfoot community in the mountains than she was at home. Skip agreed to show the authorities the campsite he and Teresa allegedly stayed at. He led them to a small grove of trees at the meadow's edge along Brown's Creek. At the inner area of the grove, there was a smoldering fire among the heavy layer of pine needles that appeared to be somewhat damp. This burnt area was approximately 3.5 feet by 8 feet long. There were these blankets that were put up, and they were in specific formation. There was a camera, a purse, an off-white bra, a t-shirt, pictures of the countryside, and a picture of Welch playing the guitar while sitting by what appeared to be the blanket and the grove area. There were also pictures of Teresa. The campsite where all these was found was staged by Skip. From the topography of the photos, the local deputies could guess that the camp was 20 miles away, possibly in Ghost Canyon. Even though he allegedly lied about the campsite, the meadow and the canyon were searched. A helicopter searching for the clues or signs of Teresa's whereabouts spotted something on the hillside above Browns Creek Camp. It turned out to be a blue shirt that belonged to Skip, and it had meth in the pocket. Searches by bloodhounds were done near the camp, and the dogs detected Teresa's scent at one point, but no other clues were found. Skip was charged with child endangerment and child stealing. He was arraigned and released on his own recognizances by Judge Gallagher. However, this judge did not realize that Judge Austin had increased Skip's bail to $30,000 after reviewing the case. 2 days later, Skip was rearrested. 3 days before Skip's trial, the authorities dropped the child stealing charge. They had offered to recommend a 1-year sentence if Skip signed a waiver allowing them to go forward with the murder charges if Teresa's bodies were located, but Skip refused. The prosecution decided to drop the case to avoid double jeopardy if they wanted to charge him with murder.
Yeah, so
Wow. So many different stories. Now, his shirt being up there puts him at that location undoubtedly.
right.
So they was in the location. And that would lead me to believe that the campsite was probably staged if they were at a different place. Or like you said, they've had visited different places. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But why would you leave a shirt to
With
where
meth in
you're
the
leading the
pocket.
police to with meth in the pocket? Um,
Well, I mean, they did play Russian roulette, and one of them lost an eye. So,
true.
and Herbert's got another good question: why no drug charges? Why was he not charged for drugs?
Good question.
Hello, Candy Wolf. Good to see you. Glad you was able to make it. It's been a long time. It's good to see you. Uh, I think that and I'm not saying all, but allegedly in a lot of these small towns, the cult or satanic groups or other hate groups, they're usually not just the rednecks or the hillbillies. It goes high up into the government. Could the police be part of the cult in that area? And that's why he wasn't charged? Who knows? We wouldn't know unless we was able to actually go there and put boots on the ground. And
Right.
I don't have my RV yet, so that ain't gonna be happening. But there is some places I would love to visit. You know, uh, so I'm just going to give you my final thought that I wrote out on this, and then I'll go back to you. We missed your bunches too, Candy. And then I'm going to go back to you for your final thoughts, and we will break this down. So I went through everything, and Herbert is usually my most unbiased judge here, him and Sunshine. And this is what my final findings would be on this case. Based on the evidence, the most plausible cause of Teresa Ann Bier's disappearance, I believe, is foul play by Russell Skip Welch. While Skip claimed a Bigfoot abduction, investigators believed also he likely murdered her or caused her death after luring her into the mountains. I agree. His conflicting stories, the staged nature of the campsite, and his history of taking young girls into the woods under false pretenses all point to him being responsible rather than a Bigfoot event. Can I say that he murdered these women? No, I cannot without a body and without tangible proof, but I can say, to me, the evidence points more toward foul play in the human aspect than it does the cryptid or supernatural aspect. That would be my summary.
Hmm. I'd have to agree, but I also think that the system completely failed her. You know,
Oh yeah. I mean,
and had that not happened, then she might not have been in that situation to disappear.
oh,
Um,
I got Herbert's approval. He said bingo. I haven't seen sunshines yet though. That's the scary part. You know, we know he wasn't just taking those girls up there, showing them Bigfoot and doing drugs. He was doing other things with these girls. Uh, that's in the report, but I didn't want to get into that. You know, I think that we're all adult here, so we can figure out probably what his motive was. Uh,
mhm.
Anyone doing that, I think, also loses credibility. Um, could could he have been part of a cult? Sure. Um, he could have took her up there, and there's no telling what they could have done to her. Um, my opinion, the idea and appreciation of honor is not among things I strive for now. Aw. Uh, I would say that with her missing for so long in the area, then I think it's pretty safe to presume that she's no longer with us. Uh, and I would even speculate to say that Mr. Welch had something to do with that. That's what I would say. I mean,
And
at the he took her there, right? I mean, he took her there. We know that,
mhm,
and he didn't come home with her.
right. And then he had several stories to explain why.
Right? He failed to protect her.
Um, that too. Yeah. Um, yeah. I. It was 5 years after her disappearance that the news did a story, or did an interview rather, with the uncle, who just simply stated that he felt that she was either no longer with us, or that she was sold into slavery, which I thought was kind of odd for him to say. But we may never know.
And yeah, and you can't file a FOIA on it right now because it's still an open case.
Hmm. Yeah.
Which I would be, if they ever close this case, I think it would be an interesting case to file a FOIA on and just take a second look at it.
Hmm.
Um, no, I don't believe Herbert was timed out. Shouldn't have been timed out. Was Herbert timed out? I hope not. Um, I would like to take a second look at it whenever they do close it, because there's always going
Hmm.
to be things that they didn't share with us that we don't know.
Right. It would be
Um,
interesting.
well, they said Herbert got timed out. Is Sharon or Pam in the chat tonight? I don't know what happened. Let me see if I can find it. One moment, people. I'm not seeing he's timed out. It's not showing it on mine. I'm not even seeing that he was timed out. Normally, if I go back, it'll show me because I'm the admin. I don't see it. I'm sure if it wasn't deliberate. Yeah, I'm sure it wouldn't be deliberate. Let me take a look on here.
If you're still in chat, Herbert, make a comment
Hold on.
so I know you're
Yeah,
not timed out.
he was timed out by Keith, and I can't undo a timeout, I don't think. For 86,000 seconds. I can't undo that. I don't. I guess I'm not able to undo that. No. It shows Keith deleted another person. Oh my god, Keith is going crazy deleting people. So where's my moderators at? We need to find Keith here real quick. Where's Keith? Where's Keith? Well, I can't even find him in our chat right now. Okay, hold on, folks. 1 second. Anybody tonight that's still watching that got timed out by Keith, I apologize. I don't know what happened, but he went on a frenzy. He deleted a whole shit ton of stuff. I will take care of that, guys. I'll find out what happened. Not real sure what was going on there, but I removed his permissions right now, so he won't be able to time anybody out right now. I'm not sure what happened. Did you see that, Lisa? All the stuff?
I did not. I can't.
It's a ton. If you go back right now and chat, let me show you something right here real quick. Not really sure what happened. Let me pull this up real quick, and you can see here, and it's all the way through there. He just went crazy at deleting. I mean, that's all deleted. Everybody.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, he was attacking everybody. Mousy deleted and timed out everybody. So I apologize for that personally. I will take care of that after the show. I apologize for that again. Guys, that's pretty much all I got for the show tonight. That was my ending thoughts. Lisa, would you like to say something before we jump out of here tonight?
Well, this is an interesting case to look into, and I hope someday we have answers to see what happened to her. Um, just want to thank everybody for being here, and hope you have a great night. God bless you all.
All right, guys, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I apologize with what went on. I assure you it will be fixed. As soon as I get off here, I'm making a call, but it will be took care of. Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate your support. Those of you that were deleted tonight, it will be corrected. And again, I apologize that happened. I did not notice, and I didn't know that. Uh, there's Sharon. Sharon, did you see what had happened up above? Keith went through and deleted almost everybody and gave everybody 86,000 second timeouts. And he was doing it for a long time. I didn't notice. I noticed our numbers were dropping, but he was shredding people up above in chat. So before I end this, Sharon, would you like to scroll up and take a look? Because once I end the stream, you're not going to be able to look at chat until it publishes. Lisa, if you've said everything you wanted to say, would you like to jump off and go back in chat and look real quick and get some screenshots?
Sure.
And I'll talk with everybody just a little bit longer so we can do that.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you for being here, Lisa. You've done an excellent job. I look forward to doing another podcast with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Same here.
All
Good
right.
night, everybody.
Guys, we're going to work on right now figuring out what's going on. I'm getting a lot of messages right now. I have another channel that's sending me messages saying I have somebody that went rogue. I apologize for that. It has been handled. I've removed the permissions of that individual, and I have moderators going back right now screenshotting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and excuse myself from here. The Rumble account that we have, we're going to be doing boots on the ground with. It is pinned on this commenting right on the chat. If it's not, I'll go back and repin it. It should be pinned. We're going to be doing boots on the ground over there, guys. And don't miss out over there. Go over, give us a follow so you get notified. But we will be doing boots on the ground there. I'm going to take a quick recess, guys, and then I will end up ending this as soon as we get everything we need. Thank you all so much for being here. And thank you again so much for everything and your support. And I apologize again for what happened. I'm going to go remedy that right now. So we will see what's going on. Thank you so much, guys. Good night and God bless.